It's 4:39. I'm Tori on AM 1220 KHTS, your hometown station. Perry Smith, news director, is here, and this is where I take a little bit of a break because we are in special programming on and off for the next couple of days. We have been doing interviews of candidates for city council, and we have yet another candidate because there are 50.
There have been 50.
There are 50, and so I think I've lost count at this point because you and I have just been talking until we can talk no more. So
I think somehow we've done more than 50 already, but I don't know. I'm just worried about we got to screen these people.
We have 50 candidates, and yet we've done 117 interviews. What?
Yeah.
So it is 4:40, and take it away, Perry. It's all yours.
Thank you. Yes, as you mentioned, we have a vacancy on the city council. Assemblyman Dante Acosta's election to the legislature created that opening, and Philip Phethean, thank you for coming down and talking with
my pleasure.
Us in the studio about the issues for Santa Clarita voters, and we're giving our city council a chance to hear from you before that special meeting on January 17th, where you're going to be interviewed by them and in front of the whole community, of course. Talk to us a little bit about yourself and your experience in Santa Clarita for our listeners, please.
Well, I moved into Santa Clarita about 2000. I originally came from Syracuse, New York, and on a job transfer, I got to come to this community, and my wife and I bought a house in 2003, and since then, we've really enjoyed this community a lot.
And talk to me a little bit about, as far as, are you involved in any groups up here, any activities up here? You guys commute out of the area?
Yes, my wife still works. She goes into Glendale, and myself, being retired after 42 years of work, I decided, and I told my wife, I wanted to do something for the community now that I have time. And what I did is I looked around and I found that they had a E-bond measure for Saugus Union's school district.
Sure.
And so I applied to be one of the part of the oversight committee, and I did get onto the committee, and now I am the chairperson for the committee.
So that would be probably maybe your first example of the volunteer work for the city up here, or the government. Obviously, the school district's a little different. But what was that like, and what did that teach you about kind of public service? And is that what kind of made you want to run for city council? Or?
Yes, I really enjoyed it. I like seeing a situation. It's kind of like work, and it's fun too at the same time, because you get to contribute, you get to add value, you get to meet great people. And when I saw this position opened up, I said this would be really very, very interesting to get involved in a community like this.
And speaking of which, you mentioned to me during our break what you did before you retired, and I just thought it was kind of really interesting, and you've held a few jobs there, so tell our listeners a little bit about your background professionally.
Sure. I worked for Nestle for 42 years. I came here, I started on the floor in the union, working machines and such, worked my way up. The last 8 years the last 12 years when I was here working, I was industrial performance, head of industrial performance for Nestle in the United States and Canada, and also for the beverage division as the director of industrial performance. What that entails, and everybody asks me that,
sure,
is what do you do? Well, I work with all the factories and the processes. I try to assist them to be more efficient and productive, follow standards, procedures, whatever it takes to make that factory a great factory and make the people great people to work with Nestle. And do what I can do to help them to get best-in-class performance and share practices to help each other out. And overall, it's working with people. It's making things better through the people.
Talk to me a little bit about if the city council were to name you as their newest member, what type of priorities do you see for the city?
First of all, I think the city has done a great job. I think there's maybe an opportunity for me, being a little different, coming from a different background, to add some value to do what we call root cause analysis, maybe get into a little more depth, get my hands into a little more, understand things. Because many times, as with manufacturing, people tell you a lot of things. They give you your opinion and you listen. But at the end of the day, you have to look at the facts. And I think that I bring a unique style that maybe the council could really appreciate, that I would get involved. Since I am retired, I can put more time. And I could do things maybe a little differently, but follow the procedures and protocols, but also add a lot of value through trying to improve a situation by a different methodology than maybe people are used to.
And speaking of which, is a perfect segue to my next question. Thank you. We want to ask everybody, what is an example of what, looking at what City Council's done over the last few years, what's an example of something that you saw as a resident where that was they made the right call, they did the right thing, and then maybe something where if you were on the council, you'd try to do something differently? I mean, obviously you'd be one of five, but maybe a different approach.
I think what they've done, they've really developed this community. I mean, it's been fast growing. The first time I saw Santa Clarita was in '93. I was working in Bakersfield and driving back and forth. And I said, what a cute little place. And then 10 years later, I'm living here. But it's massive. And I think they've done a great job to get to that point. I like the outdoor spaces and things. They just opened up one by where I was, and I think it's great that they did that. As to what could need improvement? Was that the next question?
Sure. Or just an example of something that was done that maybe could have been done differently, obviously with the benefit of hindsight, or just looking at how it was done.
That's a good question. There's been so many things that they are doing. It's very hard for me to pick one thing that would get into a lot of detail. Unfortunately, I don't like to put so much an opinion. If I knew more about what they've done and how they've progressed, the one thing I would maybe challenge, and that's just the part of me through work, is the financial impacts. Are they actually, I know they're spending the money, I know they're doing things that have improved, and there's been probably a lot of documentation. But I'd like to look at it too and to say, is there opportunities that we haven't seen? Is there something that financially that we can do better? Do they have even a plan? One thing to spend money, but also how do you save money? How can you change that up a little bit? How can we look and make saving money and getting opportunities one of the things also the council has to be looking at?
Sure. Thank you. You've answered all of my questions, Philip, and so now since we have a little extra time, want to know if there's anything else that maybe I haven't asked you about that you'd like to get the message out to the City Council about yourself and your application and your resume and to the residents as a whole.
Sure. I think one of the things that, if you've looked at my resume, which is up on the board, is that I've done a little bit of everything. I've been in the lowest places. I love to work with the people. I really enjoy working with people, seeing the light turn on when you get them motivated and they see what the difference is, they see what you're talking about. And I think that's one of the passions I always have, is how do I help everybody? How can they see what I see? How can they see what the council sees? And how do we get this to the people better so they can really see what's going on and even encourage them to be more active? And that's what I think we have to do a better job of too, is get more people involved. And I'm really impressed at 50 people.
I was just going to say,
that was great.
I think we're okay on the number of applicants, but
for you.
But it is, it's absolutely, we joke, but it's absolutely encouraging, and we're grateful to be a part of this kind of community where so many people turn out. Philip Phethean, thank you so much. Good luck on January 17th. City Council will be making their decision then, so we obviously encourage everybody to watch that process, and they can watch it on our Facebook page.